Hi, I'm Mandy Pryor, Executive Director of Southwest Regional Chamber of Commerce, and welcome back to the Southwestern PA Business Podcast. We're very excited to talk about cybersecurity awareness with Zen Piotrowski, CMIT Solutions, and find out more about what's going on with technology for your small, mid-sized business. And without further ado, meet Zen.
Hi, I'm Zen Piotrowski. I'm president of CMIT Solutions here in Pittsburgh. We're a managed IT service provider. We take care of literally everything. CMIT stands for Completely Managed IT. In addition to managing information technology and networks for our customers, we also deal with cybersecurity. So this is a very timely conversation because next month is Cybersecurity Month. And cybersecurity attacks are very much on the increase. They've increased over 2.5 times of where they were last year.
Wow.
So it's pretty significant. I don't know how many of our listeners or viewers have watched the news lately, but just a few weeks ago, over 2.6 billion personal records were stolen. So literally, that's every person in the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom.
So just a few.
Yeah, just a few. And
attacked.
they probably have everybody's social security number, your birthday, your personal information. So highly recommend that you literally lock up your credit applications. And you can do that. KDKA published a article where you can go to all three reporting agencies and literally freeze your credit. And I would highly recommend that for your personal information so that doesn't get out.
Wow, I didn't even hear about this.
Yeah. So that's.
Do they know where it's coming from, or?
Well, it's this is happening. Most cybersecurity attacks are happening because of criminal organizations around the world. So those organizations are in countries that don't have extradition treaties with the United States. So, those criminals can't be extradited here to face prosecution.
Probably really hard to find as well.
Right, and they're really nasty kinds of people. The people that work for these organizations, sometimes those people are held hostage themselves. So they're being exploited and forced to work for them to literally call people on the phone and try to get money from them or get financial information from them or work for them as a cybersecurity criminal if you got any information. Now some of these people get paid a lot of money to do this. So these are criminal enterprises that make a lot of money. They're kind of like organized.
It sounds like it's straight from a movie, but it's true out there.
It's organized. It's mostly organized crime. Now, the other side of that, there's also nation states like Iran and China and Korea that have cybersecurity specialists that are trying to infiltrate the United States and kind of mess up our infrastructure.
Sure.
So there's protections against that. And there's been, of course, a lot in the news about the exploiting pagers and walkie-talkies. A lot of that is happening also through cybercrime.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
My kids' walkie-talkies are.
Well,
have to be careful with them.
Well, they're probably
frequency's a little.
Yeah, they're
might be
safe.
A little low.
Yeah. But in terms of businesses, so I know we're here to talk about keeping small and medium businesses safe. And small and medium businesses are very vulnerable to these types of attacks. In fact, 60% of small and medium business owners don't think they need to worry about this. They think that they're too small to matter to these individuals, that there's nothing that they really have that can be taken from them. But if your information's important to you and you want to continue to do business and you rely on IT to do business, you really need to worry about protecting yourself from cybercrime. The fact is that only 14% of those businesses have actually taken steps to protect themselves from these attacks. So most of these businesses are very vulnerable to the attacks.
Absolutely.
So even though they're only targeted 43% of the time, they get breached the most. And a breach is where they actually
Because they're not paying attention the most.
That's correct.
The bigger the company, the more cybersecurity they're going to have.
That's exactly right. So they get breached the most. In fact, 87% of the breaches are actually occurring to small and medium businesses. And 1 out of every 5 businesses this year, small and medium businesses, is going to have a breach if they don't take any steps to protect themselves from those.
Well, and I always might want to get that for a second. Cybersecurity breach right now, everyone.
Actually, I'm going to mute my phone. I apologize.
No, that's okay. He's on it. He's on 24/7. I always bring up this story whenever and many people don't know, when I first started with the Chamber of Commerce, emails switched from the former director to myself, and the domain went up for listing because nobody paid it. We didn't know it was getting sent to the wrong email address, so it went up for list. Well, there's actually poachers out there, and they poached the Chamber's domain. So if you can remember, it was SWCOC, I think, back then.
Yeah, I remember.
Don't hold me to that.
And then they wanted a lot of money to get it back.
$2,400 to give us this domain back, which is extraordinary. And they put a very inappropriate website over our website that went out to boroughs and town. I mean, everywhere. I was like, please don't open your web browser in the office. Not safe for work. So yeah, we just ended up switching out the domain because it was less expensive, and just kind of had to let that domain go away. And, we had it for years and years, but that was all we could do at the time. But just, anybody is vulnerable. And, now obviously we have cybersecurity and we know our domains, and we have our backup now. But I was like 3 months into the position, so it was an interesting time there for us.
Protecting your domain, especially if you've built it up over years and you're relying on it for generating business, and your reputation's at stake. You may pay. They were trying to extort you for money.
Oh, yeah.
And you might actually pay that if there's not a way for you to easily get it back.
And the funny thing is I still get a bill from them, whoever owns it, for like $200. I'm like, well, we've changed the name at this point. We definitely don't need the domain. So you can just pay your own money on that domain that you took from us.
Right. But there's things you can do to protect those domains that are pretty simple to do. And those aren't usually vulnerable if you're using domain management companies that are reputable, and there's ways that you can protect it. There's even ways to protect those domains from being stolen by paying extra for a little bit of insurance, and having a little bit of leeway about when you update that, the payment for that. So there's ways to protect
what are
yourself.
some other vulnerabilities that small and mid-sized businesses have right now?
The reason small and medium businesses should care about a cybersecurity attack, because their data could be stolen. And that business might be liable for the data that's stolen. As an example, if your personal information or financial information gets out, that your customer's information gets out, you could be liable for that. And there could be fines and penalties for that, depending on what business you're in. But it doesn't matter what business you're in, how you operate. Everybody's vulnerable. And the biggest problem that you could have is they could literally shut you down so that you can't operate if you rely on IT. If you don't have a way to recover from whatever the attack is, if it's a ransomware attack that literally locks up your data and you don't have backups that work, a lot of times these individuals will lock up your backups. They'll go delete all your backups.
Oh my.
And they'll encrypt them. So you have to buy a decryption key from them. If you pay the ransom, here's the really bad news, 45% of the time, they may not give you any relief. So in other words,
You pay it and they still don't
you
give
could
it to
pay
you
it,
back.
and the problem is you could go out of business. If you can't restart your business, 75% of small and medium business owners that go through a cyber attack go out of business. Now, there's some people that ask, well, can't I just buy cybersecurity insurance for this? And the answer is yes, but those companies are going to ask you to meet some prerequisites. So you're going to have to put some protections in place to be even eligible for cybersecurity insurance. The insurance companies aren't just going to cover you if you're not protecting yourself. So they're going to ask a lot of very technical questions to make sure that you have all the protections in place that they...
You just can't give them a new laptop and say, here you go.
yeah, right. So that will work. Yeah.
This is a little bit of a liability for us.
Yeah. So they're going to make sure that you're protecting your passwords, that you have multi-factor authentication enabled, that you're doing regular scanning to look for threats, that you have ways to detect active threats when they're in your environment. You may be surprised to learn that most companies don't even realize, now this is after not just an attack, but a breach happens where somebody's in your system literally stealing data or capturing data about you and your business. It could take almost 300 days before you even discover that they're in there. Usually what happens if they lock you up for ransom, they're going to ask for a ransom that they believe you're going to pay because they already know what's in your bank account. They may have even emptied your bank account. There's a story that's been in the news fairly recently, probably over the last year or so, about Joyce Jewelers in Uniontown. They had the most common ways that cybersecurity criminals attack businesses is through their email. So Joyce Jewelers had a phishing email that one of their employees clicked on, believing that it was their bank, and divulged their financial information about their bank. Those criminals emptied Joyce Jewelers' funds, $1.6 million worth in less than 20 hours. All because somebody didn't realize that email they received was not really from the bank, and that information they were providing was not really to their bank account. And now there's a court case going on with Joyce Jewelers and that bank. They're
saying that.
Yeah, Joyce Jewelers is blaming the bank for that. The bank is saying, hey, you shouldn't have revealed your information, your credentials to log into your accounts. So now it's in court to decide who's going to win that case.
Yeah, and it can come so easily. And there's like an amount, isn't there, on like per client? Say you have 150 clients in your business. Like, what is the cost per person if there's a cyber attack? Like, each client to fix it can cost you how much? If that makes sense.
Well, no. Usually, if there's an attack, it costs you something. For a small and medium business, it's probably going to be several $100,000 to fix it, and it could be more than that. The last year, the average cost to a company for a breach was $4.2 million. Now that includes fairly large companies. But to recover from that, that's, to recover the data, all the work that has to go into it, to try to recover your systems. There were stories in the news about like MGM Grand, the casino in Las Vegas.
I did see that, yes.
Yeah, and they were out for over a month. And think about how much money that actually cost them in business operations while that was going on. So if a company like that, which didn't take the proper precautions, right, to protect themselves, they thought they were, but they didn't.
That's a big company to infiltrate.
Right, but we're talking about smaller companies, and it could cost you tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. You could lose your business, so that's one of the biggest reasons why you should take the steps to protect yourselves, because it's not going to cost you nearly that much. It's going to be a fraction of
Sure.
what that might be, and it's very affordable. There's many things that you can do, and if you're not sure what you can do, your clients can always contact us. We'd be more than happy.
And what are some of the first steps that your company would take them through? Like, what do you say they do first? Say you're like a small business owner and you're watching right now and you're like, oh, I need to do this. Like,
Right.
what should I do? And what should I be focused on first?
There are 14 things that we think companies should consider doing. Now, sometimes you don't need to do all of the 14 items, but we can come in and do a quick assessment for you, with you, to determine what's affordable for you and what makes sense for your business. And it doesn't cost very much. As an example, managed detection and response that identifies active threats in your environment costs $15 a workstation a month. That's not very much money when you consider it could save you, millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's not a big fee.
Right.
And if you're used to getting insurance for your business and you're used to doing protections everywhere else, then you should definitely consider technology, because
Right.
everybody's using it in multiple different ways, and employees aren't always reliable on what they're opening, what they're doing, how they're moving information around either.
So you hit on a really good point. The most vulnerable point in any business is your employees. So it's humans make mistakes.
They do.
And that is the number one way that hackers or malware gets into your system, is through your employees, just because they're maybe not educated about how things work, or they can easily be fooled. A lot of times that's through email. That's the easiest way to get into any business. Every business is operating with email. So it's the number one way that hackers and malware gets into business.
From employee error.
That's correct.
And what, as an individual for employees, if you're going to educate them, what's the number one tip that you would say to tell your employees?
To have a security awareness training program for your employees. So we do that for a lot of our customers, especially for those that we're protecting their email systems for. It's very simple to do, doesn't cost very much, and it prevents a lot of problems. In fact, most of the tools that are in the marketplace today, 97% of the cyber attacks that happen today could be prevented if you leveraged what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's like, I forget, you get phone calls from Microsoft, stuff that
Right.
doesn't actually happen. So
No, but you're making a really good point. You can get calls at home on the telephone, right? So there's a lot of different scams that are going around. Either your landline, you could be getting calls there, be suspicious of anybody that you haven't asked to call you.
Well, they have that big one for seniors who,
Right.
It
Right.
happened to my grandmother, where my cousin was in jail, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
forget, down
Oh,
south, and she definitely thought, like, he's in jail, I have to get him out, I have to send this money. And then
Right.
luckily she called my aunts and uncles, and they were like,
Yeah.
this is a scam, he's fine.
And now,
And it's getting a lot of people. I mean,
it is, because now they're even using AI to use your voice to call your grandmother, say, hi, this is Mandy, I'm in jail, I don't have any money, I need to get out, I need to get some bail money. And they can be tricked to do that. But there's also text messages, you got to worry about that on your mobile devices. So anything that you use on the internet or in any shape to communicate, you need to be careful about what you're doing, including what information you're putting on your Facebook page about yourself and what you're doing.
Yeah, those
Right.
little quiz surveys, they reveal a lot of information.
Right.
And so,
The
you're talking about your first car.
Right.
Which is also your banking information.
Right.
Like, maybe don't put that on the social media.
So the attack I talked about at MGM Grand, the CIO was putting information on his Facebook page about himself there. They used that to actually get into his account, and that's one of the ways they breach that account. So,
Well, and that's just like a tip today is go out there and change all your passwords to something a little more complex than your
right,
kid's first birthday or your son's name or anything too obvious. Put some funny symbols in there somewhere. So, well, is there anything else that we haven't touched base on that people should know? Those small, mid-sized businesses, we have a lot of you out there in the chamber, so we want to make sure we have all your protections in place. Zen here is on our board of directors as well, so you know where to find him. He's on our website, so you can't find his company.
Right, but if you need to contact us, just call us on at our office, 412-257-0511, or check us out on the internet. We're CMIT Solutions of Pittsburgh South. And we'd be more than happy to come out and help do an assessment for you and determine what protections we can help put in place for you that meets your budget.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Anything else?
That's,
all right. Well, thanks for coming on the program today.
Thank you for having me.
We'll get
Andy.
this out on our podcast channels as well as on video on YouTube on Upper St. Clair Public Television. Thank you to Mitch back there in the green room, or is it the purple room? I forget the room color, but he's been out there helping us to get these video podcasts out. So thanks, Zen, for coming on today.
You're welcome.
And just so you know, we have the Southwestern PA Business Podcast is back weekly through the end of the year, so you won't miss an episode. Please go to southwestregionalchamber.org to see all of the past episodes. And if you're a member out there and you want to come on to the podcast, please reach out. We have our upcoming Excellence Awards on November 7th, and our holiday luncheon will be coming up on December 10th. Those are our two big events amongst all our coffee hours and executive roundtables. So we hope that you participate in the chamber, and thanks so much for listening. Thanks to Zen from CMIT Solutions South for coming on today, and have a great day.